he's going to chat a little bit about Bulls and Blue Bulls interaction with clubs and communities, and then we go over to coach and captain.
Thanks, Anil. Yeah, thank you everybody for attending. And obviously, my first time here, but quite used to press conferences over many years with different teams and different events. Yeah, I think from our perspective, we had this thought, or this school of thought that we should get the professional guys maybe a little bit closer to our supporters, and then in this instance to our club communities. And spoke to Mitch, and he was very accommodating, and then the players as well. And we're starting off by having a training session with the Currie Cup group, which will include a couple of high-profile players, maybe some of the injured guys, and Mitch himself, to attend free clubs, to do a training session at free clubs that we identified. One in the South, Centurion Rugby Club, which, as you probably all know, plays in the Super League, and then one in the West Tuiner Rugby Club, and then in the North at Moorlikers Rugby Club, where Dragons is based in. As I said, it's just to get the professional players maybe a little bit closer to the communities. You're all aware it's not like the old days where the guys used to play club rugby and the local people used to know them, maybe etc. Now, they maybe see them on TV if they can afford television, and they might even not be able to afford to get to Loftus nowadays. And the inspiration for me behind this is that about 2 weeks ago, we took Johnny Kotze to Tuiner Rugby Club. And I might be wrong, but I think 90% of the guys there didn't know who was Johnny Kotze. But they were in awe. The one guy even came and touched him. Went back to his friends. Maybe those blues are made of steel or something. And his agent told me the next day he had 105 additional followers. Whatever that means to the younger generation.
Johnny is made of steel,
yeah, he actually is. He had 105 additional followers. So, and when I got to the game last Saturday, there were actually a group of Tuiner guys that said they come to support Johnny. I swear they didn't know who was Johnny Kotze. So I'm very excited. I can tell you, I think Mitch and the guys are going to be, they might be blown away by the kind of response we're going to get. As I said, Tuiner, Moorlikers and Centurion, they're going to mobilize all the local clubs, all the local schools, the coaches come and watch, and then after the training session we'll have 15 or 20 or half an hour. We know how that things goes, but half an hour say for some signatures and stuff like that, and maybe a few questions and an opportunity to have a photo of Mitch and whoever. So I'm quite excited about it, and I know you have your challenges, and it's traffic time, and it's not part of the original program, etc. But as with the president hat on my head, once again, I'd like to thank Mitch and Barent and the players on the company side for accommodating us with this. And as I said, just to bring the communities closer to the heroes, to create heroes. We create heroes, those people are going to come and support the Bulls. And I think the timing is right now at this stage to do this as well.
Philip, can I ask you, Philip, I'm not sure if you or John are the right person to answer this, but is this almost like a pilot project, and do you feel that maybe the Super Rugby team could actually, if this goes well, could actually do the same thing?
Look, let's get this clear, off the ground and see how it goes. And remember, it's also the programs are so strict in terms of the training and conditioning and this and that, and all this place is about a half an hour, 45 minutes away from Loftus, so use that logistics and stuff. But let's just get started with this free, see what's the response. All three clubs has got good facilities, so it should go well. And I mean, if we get 1,000 spectators, maybe additional to come and watch at Loftus, it's been a win-win situation for everyone involved.
And to add to that as well is that club players can play at the professional level, but it's more likely at Currie Cup first. And so the connection between Currie Cup and club rugby, I think, is a very important connection, and one that's realistic. Whereas Super Rugby is a cut above the rest, and a lot of the guys don't just arrive here, within a year. So I think, from purely a structural point of view and a realistic point of view, that mixing Currie Cup with our community is essential.
Sorry, Willem, I'm personal now from Ian's, and I know this is probably part of your new reign here at Blue Bulls, but taking rugby to the community,
is that something new? Shouldn't it be part of any rugby union's way of going about their things though? Because shouldn't rugby be close to the community after all?
Yeah, yes, and we do a lot of exercises that does it. I just thought in terms of the club structures, you know, that just to bring the heroes and the guys a little bit closer to them. And you know that in this economic times, you know, people maybe can't afford in some areas in Pretoria to get to Loftus anymore. They can't afford pay television anymore. So I think it's probably part of all unions has been part of this one as well. But this is just something directly going to the clubs that we've nominated.
And to add to that as well, is that we've got an added responsibility to keep club rugby alive. I mean, my generation, my whole life was dominated around club rugby, and as a result of playing good club rugby, I then became a provincial player. And we do now have a situation where a lot of our best players never play club rugby. They come from schools, and so it's becoming harder and harder for players to play club rugby because they have to work, and the realities of injury is huge risk. So we've got to find a way to still try and keep club rugby alive, and because our game is shrinking at club level, whether we like it or not. And if we lose club rugby, which has been really the roots and the foundation of this awesome game.
We have around 40 clubs between here in Tshwane and Limpopo. Our top premier competition is a competition called the Super League, which for Pretoria clubs, Impala and 3 of the Falcons compete. Semi-professional competition. If you actually, of course, attend many of the matches, it's very high quality. It's actually been incredible. When Turkish played against Nakabilla earlier this year, there were around 3,500 people. So I think we're trying to position clubs also as community clubs. And they'll find that especially at places like Centurion and Tuina and Noordelijkers, those 3 that we've identified. And I think that's the way forward for clubs, you know, to be a community club. We can go and learn a lot from the clubs in the Western and the Eastern Cape where they are very community-based, get big crowds in. So we're slowly but surely moving in that direction. Just to give you an indication of the strength level, I think it was a Fringes team of the Super Sport Challenge team. They lost when they played a friendly against Nakabilla. The guys in the Super League are conditioned. Many of them played professional under 19, under 21, that maybe made it, played a little bit at the Falke, came back to Pretoria Club Rugby. So you can talk to Koos about it. They're quite competitive, so who knows, maybe John can see someone around there that he can invite to attend a camp as well, and that will be brilliant.
Who won the arm wrestle in the bar?
Come again?
Who won the arm wrestle in the bar?
Yeah. That's also a very important part of being a community club.
Just to, I know either one of you can answer this. Do you feel as if there's still opportunities for guys like Jacques van Rooyen who came from club and end up becoming a Super Rugby player?
It's not the rule, it's the exception. But they're always around. And even at school level, you know, let's just take a look at the number of schools that are now represented in Craven Week compared to 10 years ago. It's somewhere about 60%. There's always going to be the exception, and maybe especially around the front rowers. You know, it's one thing to think a guy at under 16 level as a tight at Luset is going to make it. It's something different when he becomes 25, 26, 27. So I think there's still, you know, that possibility. Unfortunately, the amateur competition was scrapped due to finances, but we're looking at alternatives to give those quality club players a bit more exposure. It will happen in this year, and we will tell you more about that in a couple of weeks' time as well. But I'm sure about it, you know, that maybe the route might be our Carlton team to the Falke and then maybe back to the Bulls. But you know, if we create that pathway and we can bring through one player in 5 years, then I'll be very happy.
Well, I'm going to ask you, I'm not sure if you're the right person or Mr. Van Graan's the right person, but let me ask you the question though. And my colleagues were making a joke about it's going to be difficult for any other South African player to make 150 caps in Super Rugby. With your new plan now, do you think you can encourage normal supporters or club players to stay put in South Africa, or rather go buy the Bulls and rather go overseas? Is that partially part of your plan, or is that something totally different though?
You must first take a look at why a guy plays club rugby. And we actually did, at my previous club, QBR, a study last year. We brought in a professional guy, and I said to him, tell me, go and do research of our players, and tell me the reasons. Number one, why does he play club rugby? Why the hell does he take that knocks and that hits for close to nothing? And number 2, why does he play at my club? Why does he play there? And this was the 3 reasons he found. It was anonymous and he came at. Number 1, he plays for the coach. He plays for the coach. He played at my club. My coach was Nicolis. He played for him. Number 2, he wants to look good for December on the beach for the girls. Really, that's what I said. They want to look good for the conditioning, for the training. Number 3, for a little bit of money, we paid him. So that was, that is what the research told us. So you have the guy that has the ambition still, but you must be realistic. If you get to 22, 23 and you're not in a professional structures, it's going to be very tough to break through it. You must be realistic. But it's actually not a high percentage that still thinks he's going to play for the Bulls someday. That's the 3 reasons why 99% of the guys at our club, who were actually the Carlton winners, Oscar Centre, they beat Turkish in the final last year. That was the reasons why they played club rugby. So, but for a guy with ambition, that pathway, I would love if that could be reopened.
John, are we ever going to have a situation? I mean, I remember back in the days, Pesetas to Willem, we had Victor Hatfield, Don Rousseau, and Peter Vandenberg play club rugby as part of their sort of rehab program from injury. Do you think those days will ever come back?
Well, insurance is the biggest challenge because there's risk in contracts, and so a lot of the clubs can't actually afford the risk of the insurance. So first and foremost, we have to protect the player's contract at this level. But yeah, if you can get around that and there's no risk, there's no reason why the player can't come back and play club rugby. But we at the moment we've still got other competitions to fulfil as well. And I guess we, as you can see, there's starting to be a line drawn between Super Rugby and Super Sport Challenge, because the way that we train and compared to the way that they train and the standards that have to be met, unless you keep up with those standards, then you get further and further apart. So clearly as a club we've got an objective to make sure that all our teams are mirroring what we do, and that everyone's stacking good stuff on good stuff, so that should they potentially become a senior contracted player, then they meet the standards.
There's actually a couple of the Super Sport Challenge, younger guys, Princess guys that's now playing at the clubs. Some struggle to make the first team. But what we found, the more they play, the better they get. You're not going to get a better rugby player or become a rugby player by playing rugby. But the onus is also on the clubs, and I said that to them. Your facilities must be up to it. You must be able to afford this guy and afford the contract insurance. Get accommodation. Come to the company, say we can accommodate 3-4 guys. So put a little bit of the onus back onto the clubs, and but they're buying in. It's not clubs are very difficult for them to sustain, but the couple of guys that can afford it are definitely buying into that strategy as well.
I'm certainly not afraid to select a player from club level as well. I think the most recent example is Marco van Staan. Where's he come from? In the last year, and look where he is now. So if that's not a great example to others out there in club world that are aspiring, and if you look at talent, there's such wonderful talent in this country, but we're still very hit and miss sometimes in our acquisition. So we must never ever neglect the talent that perhaps hasn't been given a chance.
And who knows, maybe club rugby is the way to give the guy a second chance. Because who's that guy that plays at Naka, the Kafis, or was
defensive? Marshall.
Yeah. That guy's just getting better. Huh? Maybe a year in club rugby, and that's somebody that John can have a look at. So it's maybe just a second opportunity for a guy that didn't make it initially, but he goes and plays in a semi-professional club rugby. John can have a look at him, or he scouts and say, maybe a guy that we can pull back into the Currie Cup squad, for instance. Because he's very talented. He's been in this system for how many years? 3, 4? Yeah? 4 or 5 years. So don't just discard him. He's now playing there, and who knows?
Burger, baie mooi drome en planne deur jou nuwe president, maar julle eerste prioriteit nou is hierdie Saterdag in Durban, en julle het 'n groot taak wat vir julle wag daarso. Wat is julle?
Jy wil my net nie my hoop ook van my. Ja, soos my eerste vrou, nie my hoop ook van my. Want ek gee my dan net my drome.
Julle het 'n eislike taak wat julle wag daar in Durban. Wat is die planne daar? Ja, daar teen die span van.
Nee, ek dink die planne bly maar dieselfde. Ek dink hulle kom van 'n goeie toer af, en ons kom nou van 'n
van 'n baie naweek af laasweek. So ons wil nie momentum verloor oor die 8 uit nie. En ek dink hulle gaan ook kliphard kom. Gaan vir hulle goed wees om weer terug in Durban te wees. Ek dink hulle het 'n paar naby wedstryde gehad daar wat net so waar hulle kant toe kon gegaan het. So ek dink dit gaan 'n fisiese wedstryd wees. Hulle voorspelers gaan regtig die voordeellyn aanval. So ons verdediging goed moet uitsort om hulle op die agtervoet te sit en regtig hulle 9 en 10 onder druk sit dat hulle nie hulle span op die voorvoet kan kry nie. So maar ja, ek dink ons planne bly dieselfde. Dink die nattigheid kan dalk dinge bietjie verander, maar dis die enigste ding wat dalk sal verander hoe ons speel.
John, you mentioned earlier in the week that you delayed the internal team announcement a bit just to see where the guys are. There's minimal disruption and changes actually in that match squad, so you must be pretty chuffed with how the guys have shaped up after their break.
Yeah, it's always difficult coming back from a break because it takes a little bit longer to get back into the rugby mindset. But the way that we train, by the end of Tuesday, I think guys pretty much realised that they're back in it, and their bodies responded really well to it. I've backed the experience of the 2 locks, but they're very aware as well that 3 younger locks, while they might not have brought the accuracy at line-out time against the Stormers, the physicality that they brought was huge. So there's good competition growing in that area. But I have trust in the 2 experienced locks. Lloyd's played Test rugby, and RG has potential to play Test rugby consistently as well. They're excited. One of them can go the distance, clearly based on his physical profile. And then obviously Jason now is at a stage where he's really in good shape, and he's really jumping above the standards. So we have a really good third lock to bring on.
And you might say something about your veteran Luca there. So he was exceptional against the Stormers, and I see he's reaching another milestone this weekend again now.
Yeah, he's knocking milestones every week. And naming the side in the last 3 weeks, every time I've named the side, I've always had a note about the milestone. But this week I left it off because I thought maybe it's becoming a little bit too much. What Adrian's like, it really doesn't faze him too much. He's a lot of people don't talk about him a lot, and what he's done and that sort of stuff. So he's a very humble young man, and clearly to play 150 games at this level, he's quietly gone about his work. He's been a really good mentor to Yoku and Eka. He's also been a really good mentor to his props, and now he's got his chance. But he's still no different. He's just quietly going about his work, and I think he's enjoying the responsibility of just being an experienced player and mentoring and getting the most out of his game and contributing to team. And it makes the job a lot easier for people like Burger, who can also concentrate on his game, knowing that he's got experienced guys that know that particular forward area better than others.
John, Emmerich Papier had a very good tour, and he looked at home at this level. Must have been difficult to lift him out of your 23?
Always difficult, but he's had huge load. He's probably done over 100 Ks of work. We've got about nine guys that have done over 100 Ks work since we've been going. So it's a matter about managing him physically and mentally. He'll be back, there's no doubt about that. But I'm also blessed with 3 very good scrum halves, and Andre Warner could be given the same credit as well in terms of his first 4 starts before he ran into Liam Neeson and Hamilton. So and also Evans come back with a real bang. Evans probably the better defensive organiser and communicator of the 3. Peps has got a game management in that particular area to grow in his game, and it's important for sometimes to give a guy a break for him to understand. And so we've communicated that clearly and looking to manage him. So he'll be back. He's an exceptional talent. He's got a great future as well.
Then you mentioned Marco van Stalen just now. He's still in the starting team before Rolf Smith got very good statistics this year for stealing ball. Is he now your number 1?
Rulof's also been managed. Marco probably brings just a slight edge in the physicality. That's where we see it. And Roelof's obviously took a huge load in the early part of the comp. The way he came on the other night, he finished very well. Quite excited the way he finishes actually. But he's working very hard to try and get that position back. But it's really awesome to be able to have two quality sixes on our side, and they bring slightly different qualities. Both very good over the ball. We're just asking Roelof to also realise that sometimes getting high and dominating the tackle is just as important creating a poach for somebody else, because he's so good at poaching himself. So we're looking to develop that in his game as well.
John, where do you think this game's going to be sort of won? Because you've got two sets of backs that have been exceptional in the last few weeks, and two pack of forwards that have also been dominant.
Well, you look at them; they're confident in attack, and they'll look to maintain that approach. You know, they look to win gain line, and they look to offload and keep the ball alive. So we see that as being an area that they'll look to continue with, to score a lot of points. So that gives you an indication of what they'll bring. They'll certainly probably test us with kick in the backfield as well. So I think this game will come down to field position. Certainly will come down to gain line, and whoever takes their opportunities. They've also conceded a lot as well, so that's opportunity for us. And we've looked at that closely to see how we can exploit that. But ultimately, it still comes down to game day, and we're going to have to make it happen to exploit those opportunities.
John, you mentioned them scoring a lot of points, but also conceding a lot. In terms of your own focus, what's more important in trying to outscore them, or in trying to actually maybe try and contain them more?
We'd like to do both.
So, equal importance.
Yeah.
John, do you feel that their game plays into your guys' hands? The way the game now they've decided to adopt plays into the way that you guys want the game played?
We need to make it happen. So, I mean, at the end of the day, both forms of the game exist, and when you cross the white line, you're not guaranteed possession, you're not guaranteed territory. So you've got to make work what you do get, and control what you do get. So whatever we get, we'll look to control, and if that's whether they give us freedom and space to play, look out when we get space to play, we're dangerous as well, but also we enjoy defence as well.
Do you feel, John, as if your side has been underrated?
Sorry?
Because much has been made about how the Sharks have played on tour. 1-1 game. Do you feel as if your side has been underrated in the fact that you guys have played well this season, but obviously you've lacked the W's next to your performances?
Yeah, I think we're games behind as well, maybe a game behind. They deserve their labels or their titles based on what they did in New Zealand. Yeah, they've been very close to winning two games in New Zealand, and people can judge those New Zealand sides in terms of selection and stuff like that, but ultimately they still presented themselves an opportunity of winning, and there was a clear mindset and approach change after the Rebels. We at the end of the day just want to keep getting better week by week, and we know this is important. We've got to get one back at some point away from home to square the ledger, and then we can look after home. So that's how we see it. It's going to be a proper bang up on the weekend. It's no doubt it's a derby. It's going to be physical. Yeah.
John, obviously discipline is important in any game, but I think the Sharks a few weeks back actually said that they've concentrated specifically after the Rebels game about taking the maximum amount of points when they actually are on offer, and we saw it against the Blues where Robert de Pre kicked 7 penalties, and I think he almost had a great haul against the Hurricanes again. Is that type of awareness of being disciplined on defence more acute perhaps this week, or not really?
We don't focus entirely on discipline, but we keep an eye on it, and it's important to keep clean. especially, and then all we're asking referees is to be consistent at both ends of the field. We've had a couple of rubs of the green where we haven't got what we thought we should have got in the attacking 22, and then when we've gone back to our 22, it's all of a sudden been reversed on us, isn't it, Bergs? And all of a sudden, we get a referee who's consistent at both ends. That's critical. But if you choose to be cynical, take the discipline into your own hands in your own 22, then you're going to suffer the repercussions. And then clearly, some referees go to the yellow a lot quicker than others, so you've got to read that as well. And also you've got to manage the game based on momentum and scoreboard and a +2, +3 type of scoring to get back in the game. That's why a penalty kick can be such a vital aspect mentally in the game for both the opposition and the referee.
John, do you think the Bulls and the Sharks are the teams, the South African teams that play the most similarly to each other, especially after you said that they changed their mind shift after that Rebels game? You also said they have a lot of offloads in the forwards and so, and you guys also concentrate a lot on that.
I think we have certainly a style of football that presents to the public very similar, but I think the detail within it is quite different. Their way of getting quick ball is very much more in the offload, whereas we look to get to space quicker. So I think the subtleties in what we do are quite different.
Burger, Andre Esterhuizen has proven to be quite a handful in the last couple of weeks. How are you going to approach that challenge?
Well, I think we have a plan on D. I think the Sharks made most of their points they got within the first 3 phases. So we just want to disrupt their launch and put them under pressure on the first 3 phases, get them on the back foot. Yeah, and especially on Andre, if you give him gain line, he's going to be a good player. So we really want to get into his face, don't give him space to run onto us. And hopefully we can force him into making mistakes, forcing an offload and getting a turnover ball or something like that.
Bruce, I'm sorry, bro. So now, with your permission, just to save time, can I ask him a question? Do you mind just put the mic in front of the president? I'm sorry, in front of the president.
Yeah.
The president, en dit in Engels en Afrikaans asseblief net. Sorry, just away from the rugby now, and I'm taking a fat chance with this question. Just your thoughts on you guys hosting the All Black test on the 6th of October. What does it mean for this union, sir?
Well, it's obviously a tremendous privilege and opportunity. I don't think it gets much bigger than that in the world of rugby, never mind South African rugby. So a huge honor, and maybe we can be the good luck charm the Springboks has been lacking for the last couple of years.
Do you think it's a much needed type of test? It is a very lucrative test in South African terms.
Speaks for itself. Speaks for itself. Should have a full house, Baron. No, for sure, having the All Black Springbok test is the ultimate.
Kort als meneer president, wat betekent om die All Blacks te gastheer te speel vir die All Blacks hier op 6 Oktober?
Sê weer pas nou.
Wat betekent het om gastheer te speel vir die All Blacks hier op 6 Oktober in Afrikaans?
Nee, is natuurlijk uiteraard 'n reuse voorreg om die All Blacks hier te akkommodeer in die bokke. Het is nog 'n groter voorreg om die bokke te akkommodeer, vir jy wel. Maar 'n Springbok All Black toets is die hoogtepunt ek dink nog steeds in die wêreld, jy weet, in terme van rugby. En is baie passievolle Springbok ondersteuners in ons gebied en in ons jurisdiksie, en hooplik is dit daai passie wat die bokke dalk net daai bietjie van 'n edge sal gee, soos Engelsman sê, en dis dalk net waar die bokke se geluk nog gaan dryf in die area op loftes.
Burger, just take the mic. Back to the Sharks game. How important is it to get the first hit or beating your man, which would be Esterhuizen or on the day? How important is that psychologically, not just for you, and maybe also for the rest of the players?
No, I think for a lot of players, it's the first hit determines the game. So whether you're carrying or whether you're putting in a tackle. So yeah, definitely on the first carry you want to get gain line, and on the first tackle you want to get him on the high line. So put him on the back foot. So I'm not that that type of mental guy on when it comes to that. But yeah, definitely the first game D just sets the tone of how the game's going to be.
Burger, there is a lot of talk about how well the Kanye and Andre Estes and gel as a centre combination this season. But you and Jesse seem to be finding each other gradually every week and improving. Just how is that partnership from your perspective, and why do you think you guys work so well?
I just think it comes over time. The more time you get with the guy on the field, there's a better understanding between the two of you. And yeah, I think the pool of centres are really a good combination. I think last week we had, or last game we had Damien and Evia. So especially in South Africa, the centres are always going to be a heated battle. And yeah, same thing this weekend.
Logistical question for Willem. You've got the dates here, but not the times of the training sessions.
We're looking to start, Mitch, am I correct, at about 4:15?
Yes.
Finish by around 5:15, Koos. And then they should leave there around 5:45, and I expect to see you at all three of them. Because it's part of the club structure, so
some of us will stay longer.
Well, sorry about that golf day.
Some of us will stay longer.
Didn't invite me to their golf day, so I got a golf day next week.
Baron said I should just mention to the clubs that they should give the guys at least a beer afterwards. So the response was, we give them a case of beer. So, hold on.
Some of us older gentlemen will stay longer.
Yeah, Baron's bringing the good stuff as well, so I'll stay longer as well.
I want to see you there as well.
What actually happens in those training sessions? Is it just you guys training separately and inviting a few of their players, or you putting on an exhibition?
I think it's, from my perspective, we haven't got into the detail yet, but looking afar, it's probably better off watching what they do and help them grow their games and their skills, as opposed to us demonstrating a session, because somebody can always come to Loftus and view what we do. So I think it's more about adding to their environment, and understanding what probably their challenges are within their games to be able to help them. So it can be, it's kind of like coaching, education and development. I think it's probably more important than just running a session where one doesn't understand why you're doing it. It's important they understand why they're doing it, so it's important for us to understand their challenges.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.